We're here on the Blue Collar Future podcast with Gerritt Bake.
What's up, my man?
What's going on?
How are you doing?
Good, are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
Plane ride was brutal.
Plane ride was brutal. Yeah. We were talking about it before the show.
Yeah.
By the way, when you get a couple talkers like Jaden and I, we could talk like all day long. And at some point we should probably just hit the record button, which I think we chose to do. But.
Well, it's funny because I'm actually not that much of a talker unless there's an event, or like something like this. I can talk quite a bit, but aside from that, I kind of just keep to myself.
Nice.
But yeah, we end up talking with almost all the guests I have before we record, and I'm like, man, some of the conversations have been actually pretty good. I'm like, man, we should have saved that for the podcast, but whatever. That's how it goes.
Yes, sir.
That's how it goes. So, Gerritt, what do you do?
What do I do? It's funny because when you think about business, I think that's sometimes one of the most difficult questions to ask and answer, right? So like, what do you do? Well, I'm a concrete guy. Okay, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
so you can get super deep. And the simple answer of what I do is I help contractors do two things: simplify and scale, right? When you get into the weeds and you know this, being a contractor, when you start off, you're really good at the trade, right? And you figure out, okay, so in your case, I'm really good at finishing, I'm really good at pouring, and all those good things. But then you got to go home and do the rest of the business, right? Yeah. And you're like, damn it, I gotta market. I got to go sell some more jobs. I got this pile of invoices. Yeah. I got to go pay some bills. Yeah. Oh, wait, am I too busy now? Should I hire? Who should I hire? Yeah. And it's all those questions that we really focus on answering.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people. But I mean, you got to think of it from a couple of perspectives, because there's a lot of people going around saying that if you're in the field too much, you don't have a business. But some people like that. So some people like being out there on the job and trying to tell them that they can't be out there on the job. It's like it's this big deal, this big thing going on right now. It's because of social media. And it's like, you don't have a business if you're not, if you're on the job, all that stuff. So it's like breaking down what people want is probably one of the first steps, I'm imagining.
100%.
What do you want?
Right? That's such a powerful question, because what you just mentioned is what's called a lifestyle business.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with it, right? Like, hey, I go out, I put my boots on, I get some good solid work in, I come back home, I hang out with my family, and I go on vacation a couple times a year, I have a house, and it provides, right? And it's cool. There's nothing wrong with the lifestyle business. But you're right. Sometimes people get caught up in like more is better. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily, add up all the time. And so that's one of the first things that we ask is like, cool, like where's your business at right now? And then what do you want to do with it? Yeah. Right? Do you want to scale? Because it's going to take a whole lot more work and new skills that you don't have right now. Yeah. Or do you just want to kind of clean up what's happening right now? Yep. And then we go from there.
Yeah. You want to run more efficiently? Do you want to be more on top of stuff? Whatever. Yeah. Because a lot of guys that have their own business, they like doing the work. They don't really care for the other work that is required for the business, but like to tell these guys that you need to only do that, it's kind of disingenuous, Yeah. So asking people what they want is what I'm imagining is the first thing you guys do. So, and that's an important question to ask, because so many people nowadays are like, go to school, go to college, but not what do you want to do instead. So what do you want to do? Okay, I want to go be a pilot. Okay, go to flight school. Go do this, go do that, whatever. Instead, it's like, go to school. Find out what you want to do. Yeah. Find out that way.
Yeah, so true.
Waste all this money, spend all this money to figure out what you want to do instead of just trying things,
And I believe, and I'm sure you probably do too, like there has to be a huge, or I should say a bigger push right now into the trades. Yep. Like I think last I checked, the average age of a contractor is like 45, right? And you're thinking, well, what happens when he turns 55 or 60? Like there's problems, right? There's problems in the industry. And this is a shortage of homes. There's a shortage of everything happening, and there will continue to be. But if there's not enough focus on bringing people into the trades, then it's going to get worse.
Yeah. Well, and we can look at it from a couple ways, because right now people have really good opportunities to do really well in trade work, because there isn't a lot of people that want to do it. Mm-hmm. because everybody's trying to go to school and get their degrees and do whatever else they're being told to do. But yeah, there's a bunch of opportunities in the trades, and do we push more people to them, or just kind of let people figure out over time? But if we don't push people to them, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have a real problem, because there's a lot of people that are older. I mean, so I work for my dad, actually, and he's the contractor, and he's 50. He says he's never going to retire, but at some point,
he's not going to be able to do it anymore.
At some point. And there's a lot of people like that. I know a ton of people that are around his age that are business owners and contractors. Not very many people that are like my age that are doing it, or even getting started doing it.
Mm-hmm.
There just isn't a ton.
No, I think there's this weird stigma around being a contractor.
Yeah.
Right. It's like dirty, you know, and all these other things. And not like, again, it's not realizing that I've worked with enough businesses over the years. And here's the unique thing about me. It's like, I've worked with mortgage companies, flower shops. I've worked with, fintech companies, like doctors' offices. I've worked with all kinds of businesses over the years. I only work with contractors now, but over the years. And the interesting thing is they all run the same.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that, right? So you talk about it, it's like, well, I don't want to get my hands dirty. Well, then contracting's probably not, the trade's probably not your thing, but it doesn't mean you have to be, in the field, have that tool belt strapped on all the time.
Yep.
You can build a business that doesn't depend on you.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I was going to school trying to not have to get my hands dirty forever, because honestly, just because that's what you're told to do through high school, and even as young as elementary school, they're like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are you going to go to college for? And so I was going to school for engineering, and I started to realize I didn't think I wanted to sit at a desk all day and do engineering. I don't care. Like I was interested in learning the stuff, and I really like learning, but that was about the extent. Thinking about doing it forever, I was like, ugh, not interesting to me. And for a while when I was doing concrete starting out, I didn't enjoy it either, but I feel like that was because of the stigma of this isn't as good as going to school. And when you start to get better and you start to pick up these skills, it becomes pretty enjoyable, or at least it can. But a lot of people don't ever get into that mindset because they're just thinking about how it sucks and they're getting dirty and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think there's some stigma behind it as well. Like if you go online, right, and you're on, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, and you're looking around at like, what are people doing for work? What do you get bombarded with all the time? Oh, sell stuff on Amazon, or start a social media marketing agency, or, all this like, hey, I'm sitting on the beach working.
Yeah.
But what you don't realize is 99% of those people aren't actually doing the thing that they're telling you to do.
Yeah.
They're just trying to sell you on the dream.
Yeah, they're trying to sell you on a course to do it, and they're not actually doing it.
Exactly, right? And that's where it's like, man, my perspective, if you really want to control your future, the trades, being a contractor is where it's at.
Yep.
Right? You can get to control who you want to work with. You can get to control what type of work that you do. I know this kind of sounds weird. A lot of contractors are like, wait, what? Yeah, you do. You get to control what you charge.
Yep.
You get to control when you work, right?
Yep.
When you truly make that switch from like, I'm a laborer, or I'm a tradesman, or I'm skilled at this thing, to a business owner, that's when things get fun, because now you can control all those variables.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool. You have a lot of opportunities being in the trades. Like if you start off working for somebody, you can get to a point where you start your own business, or you can work your way up in that company or in another company. You can get the skills needed to be noticed by other people and get offered positions somewhere else. And there's just a lot of opportunities around that. It's really easy to stand out right now because there aren't that many people that are going all in on that.
Yeah. And you brought up a huge point there, which is, there's this barrier of like, hey, I grew up in like, the city. Yeah. Right. I didn't grow up with a pair of boots on or anything like that. I don't know how to do concrete. I don't know how to frame. I don't know how to do roofing. Well, there's a lot of companies out there that you can go and cut your teeth, right?
Yeah.
They're more than happy to bring you on board, teach you skills. Yeah. and it's the game, right? They know that at some point, if you're good, you're probably going to go out on your own. But that's okay for the time that you're there.
Yeah.
Become their number one employee, and you'll be golden.
Yeah. Well, and you pointed out something. I think the trades are one of the only places you can learn on the job and get paid.
And get paid,
to learn.
Yeah.
I talk about that all the time because it's like people go to school for years and years. They're paying to be there, not making money. And you can go on in the trades and in the same amount of time make the same money, but also be paid the whole time.
Correct. So, and not leave school with about $300,000 in debt.
Yeah, especially depending on what you're going for.
Dude, it's stupid,
crazy.
Man.
It's crazy. And people probably think I'm hating on college. I actually like being there.
No, I'm just kidding.
I actually liked learning.
Yeah.
And I'm hating on the whole idea that it's all you need to succeed or the only way to succeed. I actually liked being there. I liked learning. I may go back. I never finished my bachelor's degree. I'm not that far off from it. But to say that it's the only way.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because it was the same thing for me. So like got married, like was already going to school. I was like, oh, I got to get my degree so I can get a good job. Right. That was the thing. Well, then kid number one comes along and I'm like, well, detour. Right.
Yeah.
So I started my first business, which is a window washing business.
Yeah.
Right. Which don't do that in Phoenix in the summertime. Not a good idea, but I didn't know any better. Right. I'm 21 years old.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, well, now I need something more stable. So then I go work for somebody, but it was exactly what you just said. It's like, there was no room for growth, right? People actually were more, what's the word? They were more, intimidated by me than they were helpful.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, what is going on here? Right. So anyway, went down the path of, becoming a police officer. I didn't get my degree until I'd been a police officer, I think 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
So I went to 3 different schools, colleges, whatever, got a degree in business management. And now it's like, man, that diploma hasn't made it out of the storage box.
Yeah.
It's like, because again, like if you think about this industry, like you don't need that piece of paper. There are things that you'll learn inside of there that would be important, right? Mm-hmm. Education, I believe any education's important, but I think that in the trades, it's so different.
Yeah.
There are so many good companies out there that you can work if you want the knowledge. If you really truly want the knowledge, there's so many good companies you can work for that will give you all the knowledge, will treat you well, want you to grow because they understand that the better you get, the better the company gets.
Yep. Exactly. People get just sucked into this trap that degree is what matters. Mm-hmm. And I honestly would rather see people go to school to learn specific things and not even end up with a degree, but like just learning things. And you don't even need to do that. You can just learn online because there's resources everywhere. YouTube. I mean, YouTube scholars are all over the place. People just learning stuff on YouTube and then starting a business. Yeah. I've heard of a bunch of people starting their own landscaping business by learning off of YouTube. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's so true. Yeah. And that's the thing is I think the education system is broken. First of all, I think that's a separate conversation that we can go super deep on. But the education system's broken, and true education is free. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to put in the work. Yeah. Like that's your price to pay, but education is free. Mm-hmm. Like everything that I do inside of my business, you can go Google and find everything. Yep. And I tell people that, right? Now, it's some differences with the container and, how we approach it and whatnot, but you can find it everywhere, right? Yeah. So it's like, don't wait for, I don't have the money to go to school. Or, you know what, like, I don't know how to lay concrete. I don't know how to pour concrete. I don't know how to lay tile. I don't know how to do these things. Mm. Google it, bro. Yeah. Like, it's out there.
Yeah, Google it, learn.
Yeah,
Or, I mean, and like we've talked about already, you can go work for somebody. You can go try it out. There's so many different ways. Yeah. It's crazy. So what have been some of the biggest things that you've helped some contractors overcome in their businesses?
That's a really good question.
I'd say what's the thing that they all have in common?
Okay.
That doesn't include just putting off paperwork.
Yeah. This one's going to throw you for a loop, right? Because this will go completely off. People are like, they need to learn marketing. They need to learn sales. Yes. The biggest issue that every single contractor has is self-belief. Self-belief, right? Because think about it. Yeah. most contractors are what we would call blue collar, right? Most contractors don't come from money, right? They grew up poor. They grew up in, middle America, and they wanted to take control of their lives. So they became a contractor. So they work long hours, right? And the first few years, you're driving a beat up truck, right? And it might be you and your cousin and you're watching the money come in, but you're watching the money go out, right? And it's a grind, right? It's a grind. And so a lot of contractors get stuck thinking that this is how it's always going to be, right? And that's the biggest thing to break.
Yep.
And I work with guys that, most of them are doing over 7 figures, but even getting to 7 figures, they still don't believe that their business is capable of anything else.
Of doing more than that.
Yeah. And I can literally map it out on a piece of paper. I'm like, dude, you're at 2 million. Here's how you can get to 10 million in 2.5 years. And we'll write all the steps out and I'll show them and they'll see it and they'll be like, oh, it makes sense. But they don't believe it.
Yeah.
And that's why it'll never happen.
Yeah.
So when I look at contractors, if there's anything that they got to work on more than anything in the world, it's their mindset.
I mean, you can almost say that that's what everybody's problem is.
It's true.
I mean, the more people I talk to, the more people I realize are doing what they're doing and they're thinking to themselves, why am I even doing this? I should just quit. And it's a recurring theme that I come across and a recurring thought that everybody has. It's like, why am I even doing what I'm doing? What is the purpose? I feel like it's not getting me where I should be going. It's not successful, whatever. And you hear people, that are making millions of dollars say that about their own business. And someone on the outside might look at them and be like, they've got it made. But they're thinking in their own minds, they have hard days and they're like, man, what am I even doing this for?
Yeah, it's so true. And I think the other thing is believing that there's a way to do it better.
Yeah.
Right. So last year, we flipped 4 homes in Arizona remotely. We weren't there. I never saw the homes. I never walked the homes. I never picked up any product for the homes. I never did final inspections for nothing, all remote. And I could tell you, we've flipped homes in person for years. And that was the first time I'd done it remote. Well, what's the mind saying? The mind's saying, you can't do that. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to lose money. You're going to this, right? And which is why we didn't do it for so long. And last year, my wife's like, if we're going to do this, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so we did. And the first one, we made money on all of them, by the way. But the first one, it got a little hairy. Why? Because we didn't have the right people in place, right? I needed a solid project manager. I didn't have that. So we almost lost our shorts on that one. Yeah. But then once we got the right project manager in place, dude, whether you're in person or you're remote, the process is the same, right? If you're doing a pour in southern Utah, you're doing a pour in Idaho, same materials, same prep work, same finishing. So mindset.
Yeah, it is. And getting the right people in place.
Right.
Someone that's there, I guess. Someone that knows. The only thing I would say on the concrete, doing southern Utah versus Idaho, is you're gonna have some variables that are different, and so you're gonna have to have someone that knows, that's there. But that's all. Yeah. So being able, the process is all the same, as far as the people that need to be in place and stuff, for sure. It's all,
But see, that's the thing, that you have a knowledge set now that you know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you could do that. Me, you asked me to do it, I'd be like, I don't know, 4,000 PSI, 8,000 PSI, get it done, right? Yeah. And so I would screw it up. But you'd be like, hey, dummy, hot temperature, cold temperature.
Yeah, exactly.
We gotta change the.
Yeah, just a little. I mean, there's just minor adjustments, and that's all. That's all concrete is, but that's all life is too.
That's all life.
Minor adjustments, for different scenarios. It's all the same. It's all the same stuff.
It's true.
Just minor adjustments, and sometimes it's in the moment you got to make adjustments and fly by the seat of your pants a little bit, but it's how it works. That's how it goes. Self-belief.
Yep.
With my last guest, I talked about how on podcasts, it's hard to do a podcast, especially if it's not your full-time thing. And it's easy to see other people being successful and to compare yourself to that and not see the success and be like, man, I just need to, I don't even know. should I even do this anymore?
Yep.
And a lot of people get to that point and then they quit. And then they chalk it up as a failure. And I think that's what probably happens with most businesses and why they don't last. You know, what is the percentage? Most businesses don't make it past 5 years or something.
Yeah, 80% fail in 5 years.
Fail is probably just quit.
Exactly.
And most businesses are in the same place after 5 years. They're all in the same place of not really feeling like they're making it. But the ones that succeed just keep going. And that's what it takes. Most people just quit too early.
That's a real powerful statement. One of the guys, he's a good friend of mine, Tim, owns an exterior company here, and I think this year they'll do 15 or 16 million, right? He's fourth generation. Yeah. Generation 1, yeah. Generation 2, Generation 3
yeah.
were all what we talked about earlier, lifestyle businesses.
Yeah.
Like they didn't live a bad life, but they had enough and a little extra, yeah. Right? When he came on board, he said, I don't want enough and a little extra. Like I want to make this generational wealth, right? I want to change the outcome, not just for my family, but for future generations, right? Yeah. Started with the mindset, yeah. Right? And then the actions that it's going to take to get there. Now, it's been years for him. It's been, 17 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
But he's at the point now where he literally works in the office 1 day a month. 1 day a month. In May, and this is where I laugh, in May, he went on a 10-day Alaskan cruise with his wife for their anniversary. Yeah. Got back for a day, went to Africa on a safari for 10 days. Got back for another day, went to Cleveland, Ohio with his new marketing director for a conference. Like that was his month, and they had their best month ever. I think he said 1.5 million in sales, right?
That's crazy.
It's crazy, right? But would he ever have put the people in place, the processes in place, the systems in place if he didn't believe that it would lead to those results?
Or if he didn't have the time behind himself already of being in the business.
Right.
Because if he didn't have that 17 years of it behind him already and the 3 generations before him of experience, who's to say? I mean, I don't know. It's interesting.
It is
how it can go.
Because
it's like it takes experience, it takes time, but the belief is probably the most important thing.
Yeah. So there's a plumbing contractor I worked with in Boise for a while.
Yeah.
And great story. Tyler's his name. 2 beautiful little girls. He's a country boy. He grew up in like rural California, and he was a chicken farmer, like a legit chicken, like a massive chicken farmer, right? And his family moved to Idaho. He eventually got into plumbing and then started his own business. When we first started working together, he'd been in business for a year and a half or 2 years, and he was doing about $35K a month. Like, it wasn't bad, right? But he wanted more. And so, what do you want? I want this. Okay. So we put the game plan in place. And by the way, I'm not saying this for me. I'm just saying this for him. Yeah. We talk about timeline, right? Yeah. So Tim, 4th generation, 17 years, he's unlocked this thing. Tyler, he'd already been in business 2 years.
Yeah.
And then in 18 months, took his business from $35K a month to $250K a month.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
But it all started here. And then it's just like, dude, I know what I need to do. I just got to go do it every day.
Yeah. Most people know what they need to do and they don't. That's one of the things that the podcast has taught me. And like a lot of people don't succeed with the podcast or don't succeed with whatever they're doing because they know what they need to do, but they just don't do it. And it's like, as long as you have in your mind that it's a commitment that you've made and that you need to do it, and it needs to be done a certain time, you'll make it happen. But a lot of people just don't believe in themselves or whatever, and it just gets pushed to the side.
Here's another one for you. A lot of people, which includes contractors, but a lot of people are waiting for permission to do the thing that they already know they're capable of doing. They're waiting for someone to give them permission.
Someone to say they can.
Yeah, to say they can, or to register them for the class, or to go get them their LLC, or like pick it, right? Yeah. But they're waiting for permission to do this thing, right? And we can take this, I mean, I don't know how deep into politics or anything else your podcast goes, so I won't go there, but you can take this into every area of your life, right? There's and we'll say men are waiting for permission to be good husbands and fathers. Like they're waiting for it. They're waiting for permission to connect with God, right? And have that relationship. They're waiting for permission to treat their bodies the way they should be treating them, right? They're waiting for permission to build the business that they actually know that they're capable of doing.
Waiting for permission.
Waiting for permission, man.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought because, I mean, you think about unlikely success stories, like anybody can do whatever they put their mind to, but they've got to believe, and they've got to, they just got to, they're waiting for permission, really.
There's always the unicorns, right? Like,
yeah.
But people focus on the unicorns.
Yeah,
and
that's all they do.
I'll never build a $250 million company. Well, probably not, right? But do you really need $250 million? You know, most people, they don't realize this. When your take home passes $250 a year, not revenue, but your take home, your life changes completely. You're in a completely different bracket of people, of experiences, of opportunities. You don't really need that much to live a really good life.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people live really good lives off of pennies.
Right.
I think it's easy to get caught up into this idea that money is the most important thing because a lot of people are happy with pretty much nothing, and you can be happy.
100%.
It's, what do you want?
Exactly.
What makes you happy? What's fulfilling? So I mean, pushing the college thing, we can go back to that for a second. Pushing the college thing is the way to be successful. Like, a lot of people they get their degree, they get into this job that they don't like, but that's how you're successful. And then they end up doing this thing forever that they don't care for, and they're just not happy. Instead of could have just gone and tried some things out and figured out what they want, instead of getting locked into this thing just because they're told to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And in, we'll call it corporate America, right? So you're getting a job, kind of a thing. Yeah. So I was a police officer, and take away the gun and the badge and the fun tools that we get to play with. I was an employee of a government agency. Yeah. That's what I was. Well, guess what? I get paid and I get compensation, and there's a retirement plan, right? And so that's what you get stuck in this mindset of, I'm working towards this big payoff at the end, right? But in the meantime, you're miserable for 20, 25, 30 years. Why would you want that?
Yeah. Yeah. Why wouldn't you just make the decisions now to do what you want? And it could be doing anything. And my biggest thing is not ruling out stuff just because you've got to get dirty or, whatever it is. It's not glamorous. And really, I think with social media right now, trade work is becoming more accepted because people, a lot of guys are seeing videos of on the job work, and they're like, man, that looks cool. That looks fun to do. And so people are opening up to this idea that it can actually be cool. And these businesses are viable and whatever it is. And you don't have to have an Amazon store to be successful. You don't have to have a college degree to be successful.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the more awareness about this, the more people talking about it, the better it's gonna be. One thing I always talk about, and we talked about this off camera, is taking care of yourself, taking care of your body and stuff. That's become a huge theme of this podcast. I've even almost thought about rebranding to health and fitness in this type of work, just because there's so many people that are living off of hot dogs and gas station
Monster
food
energy drinks
and energy drinks.
Yeah.
Which I drink energy drinks, whatever, but I'm not living off of freaking gas station rollers and taquitos from Maverick or whatever. It's all these people are living in this idea saying that blue collar work is bad for you and dirty and whatever. And it goes across the board. Yeah. Trade work is dirty. It's not glamorous. You can't be successful. It breaks down your body. And I just don't believe that. People have this in their mind, and they're manifesting it into reality, because that's just what it is. Yep. So you got people living miserable just because they think that that's how it's supposed to be.
Exactly. Dude, that you hit the nail on the head. I actually have a couple of interesting personal experiences around what you just said, right? So the first one, and a lot of people are like, oh, is this guy a contractor? Listen, I've had 2 businesses, well, 3 actually of my own. One was the window washing business. I had a landscaping business for a few years while I was working as a cop.
Yeah.
Not the smartest thing, different conversation. And then our remodeling business, right? Yep. So yes, understand the space. I'm in the space all the time. I get it, right? But I will tell you that I was going down the path that most other people do, right? Sacrifice yourself for the business, right? Yeah. And people don't realize that you are the business. And so if you show up distracted, exhausted, completely, overwhelmed, worn out, overweight, like all these things, how do you think your business is going to run? Well, it's a reflection of you, right? So like, think you show up to go do a bid, right? And you're slim trim, you're taking care of yourself. Some other dude, same age, same business, but he's 50 pounds overweight, and he's got a Marlboro in his ear. Like, face value, who do you think has the advantage? Yeah, right.
And I think a lot of people don't want to believe that that's how our minds work, but it does. People judge based on what they see immediately, and a lot of times it's a make or break. I mean, I saw a guy come out on a job that had a landscaping company, and he could barely get out of his truck. And he kind of come up to us and was talking to us and was like asking us if we ever, if we did our own prep work for our concrete. And he's like, hey, well, I do prep work for concrete, would love to do some jobs for you. And in my mind, I was like, I would literally never go to you to have you do that ever, because he couldn't even get out of his truck. Yeah. He had to have been 150 pounds overweight. Oof. And I was like, I just don't respect that. I can't. And that's how people's minds work. But people don't want to think that because, they don't want to be fat phobic or whatever. They don't want to think that, but they do. And it's appearances. It's easy to fake stuff over social media, but when you see someone in person, it's hard to fake being on top of your game, being in control of your habits, of your body, whatever. It's hard to fake that. So like you say, someone shows up, looks like they take care of themselves. They probably do. Look in their truck, it looks clean. Yeah. It's hard to fake that. Most people that have their businesses in disarray don't look healthy. Their trucks are dirty and beat up. And I mean, you can't look at a beat up truck because maybe they just use the same truck, but you can tell by the way things are organized and in there how they run their business.
So true. And I'll give you a couple of really interesting points, right? And sometimes we like to think about it, sometimes we don't. Yeah. Death. Yeah. We're all dying.
We are.
We don't know when. Yep. But the average lifespan, I think, right now for an adult male is like 82, right? The problem that people don't realize is that you die when your body stops moving.
Yep.
That's death, right? And so if you can't move anymore, you're going to die faster. It's just the reality of the situation, right? Yep. So if you think about it that way, it's like, why should you take care of yourself? Why should you go to the gym? Why should you eat healthy? Well, it's going to help you live longer, literally help you live longer, right? Literally. But the second one I think is probably more important, right? If you're single, tune out, right? Yeah. If you're married, pay attention, okay? We're in this really weird situation now. Fun, but weird. My youngest graduated from high school. Yeah. Right? Which means we're quote unquote empty nesters. Yeah. Right? I'm at a point where grandkids are going to come soon. Yeah. Do I want to be the fat grandpa that sits on the porch in the rocking chair watching his grandkids play or his kids? Yeah. Or getting invited to do things and he can't? Yeah. Exactly. Or do I want to be the grandpa that's like, oh, you guys want to go for a hike? Let's go for a hike. You want to go play soccer? Let's go play soccer. You want to go do this? Let's go do that. Like, that's what I want. People are like, well, why do you work out? Because I know where I want to be. Yeah. And it has to start now. Yeah. Right? So you think about it, and I know you work out regularly. Like, when you work out, it actually gives you more energy. It doesn't take it away.
It does.
So people are like, I don't have energy to work out. No, you don't have energy because you don't work out.
Because you don't do it. Yep. Yeah. Your body adapts to what you do.
100%.
It does. And it's hard because then people would be like, well, how come it doesn't adapt to the work I do and stuff? And it's like, it's different when you are specifically training your body with that intention of strengthening your body. because you don't do that on the job. You don't get that on the job. It's not a progressive overload situation where you're doing something incrementally harder over time. There's no way to progressive overload work forever.
Yeah.
So specifically training your body to handle life and to be in shape, it's just gonna be better for you.
So dead on. And it's the job specific stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of concrete guys that spend time on their knees.
Yeah.
Tile guys, right? A lot of roofers, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
bent over, back hurts, knees hurt, things like that.
Yeah.
What they don't realize is by strengthening their knees, their back, their ankles, all that stuff, it actually allows them to be more productive at the job site.
Well, and it's interesting because a lot of people will look at that and be like, well, work smarter, not harder, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, that's not even what we're about. It's about just being able to do your job pain-free.
There you go.
That's all. And longer. It's not even about trying to be able to do more work. It's about just being able to do it. That's it.
That's it.
And if you do not take care of yourself, no matter what you do, you're just going to be rushing to your death instead of, trying to push it off. But I mean, people don't think about it that way because they're not really, they're not thinking long-term in mind. It's just right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
dead on.
And so that's where asking what people want comes into play, because it's like, okay, what do you want? Want to be the grandpa that is active and can get down on the ground and play with my grandkids and be able to get up off the ground. Okay, well, what do you need to do right now to be at that point?
Yeah.
And that's the type of stuff that you need to be thinking about. Not, I want to deadlift 300 pounds right now. It's, what do you want to be able to do with your body? What do you want to be able to do with your life at 50 years old?
Yeah. Or even if you're younger, right? And you're in your early 20s or whatever, and you're just starting off with your family, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
So like my oldest, when he was a senior in high school, I was like, hey, let's do something together, but not just like take a trip. Like pick an activity that you want to do together. And I'd done a couple of, again, example, right? I'd been taking care of myself. I'd done a few marathons. I'd done a couple of Spartan races. He really liked the Spartan races. And I was like, cool. Well, instead of just doing one Spartan race, they have what's called the trifecta, right? 3 different distances, and you can do all of those. And I was like, let's do that. And he's like, yeah, let's do that. So we trained together, which, by the way, dude, there is nothing better than giving your kids the example and then watching them carry the torch. Yeah. Nothing better.
Yep.
Right? So we trained together, and then we did 3 different races, one in Arizona, one in California. Where was the third? Anyway, or maybe 2 were in California. But we did 3 races, 3 different weekends over like a 3 or 4 month period. Mm-hmm. It was the best experience ever. Mm-hmm. We suffered, right? Yeah. He got really tired. I fell off the monkey bars one time. But the experience is one that now we hold to for a lifetime.
Yep.
Right? And then now when he comes visit, he's like, hey, Dad, you want to go for a run? I'm like, yeah, I do. Yeah. And we can go for a run.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, it doesn't have to be grandkids. I know obviously that's my particular situation.
Well, yeah.
But it's your kids, man. You want to coach your kids soccer? You want to be the fat coach that like has to sit in the lawn chair and coach? Or do you want to be able to like run with them and practice? Like, what do you want, dude?
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of people are acting like the jobs are breaking down your body, and it's like, later on you're for sure going to be just like, you're basically just dying working at a blue collar job. But there's a lot of people that are young that are just unhealthy. Mm-hmm. And it's more about your lifestyle than it is about the work. Like there's just as many people that have been working a blue collar job for 2 years that complain about how their body hurts as there is that have been working their entire life that complain about their body hurts. And it has one thing in common: not taking care of themselves, not drinking enough water, not eating proper food, not getting enough sleep. I mean, it's all these things that compound and just make for a poor situation. And what I found interesting recently is actually most people gain all of their weight at the end of the year around the holidays.
Interesting.
So I don't remember the exact numbers, but most people have a pretty flat weight gain until the end of the year, and it spikes up and then goes back to flat. They gain weight at the end of the year, and then they just never lose it. This all is tying into not taking care of yourself. Okay. Because people all year, they don't overeat necessarily. They just overeat a ton in a few months at the end of the year and don't ever freaking lose that weight that they put on. People just aren't conscious what they're doing with their bodies and what they're doing with themselves. And they get into this routine. And it's just how they freaking live their life. It's crazy.
Yeah. I have a couple of buddies who are doctors or naturopathic doctors. So, natural way of healing versus here's a pill.
Yeah.
And 90% of the people that they work with, the first thing that they tell them to do, start working out and eat healthy.
Yeah.
It's the first thing.
It's the first step.
It solves so many problems, right? So like if you're watching, listening, whatever, like, hey, dummy, like don't make it more complicated than it needs to be, right?
Yeah.
Like, and this is where, I was introduced to a gentleman named Gerritt White a few years ago, probably like 10 to 12 years ago. And he really helped shift my mindset on a lot of things. But he came up with this real simple formula he called Core 4, or calls Core 4, I should say. And it's every day focusing on 4 things that by focusing on it intentionally every day, progressively every area gets better, right? The first one is your physical body. Always starts there, right? I'm not a doctor or anything, but I know enough that when you work out, when you sweat, your body naturally releases happy drugs, right? And it makes your body feel better, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing now is we're looking at, okay, how am I connecting with my purpose in life? I'm not here to preach religion to you, whatever, but you do need to believe in something bigger than yourself, right? Well, connect with that higher power, with God, Jesus, whatever it is for you. The third thing is your family, right? You're working for a reason. And it ain't to look prettier, right? It's you're trying to create a lifestyle for your family. Okay, so don't ignore them in the process. Don't be the guy who makes millions of dollars and then at 60, he's trying to get his health back. He's trying to get his family back, right? He's trying to get all because he ignored them, right? And then the last thing is business, right? Which is like, hey, instead of just waking up and immediately it's the text messages, the phone calls, the emails, you're scrambling, you're juggling, trying to get it all done. Be the guy who intentionally says, hey, there's stuff that's going to happen during the day I got to take care of, but what am I going to do to make my business better today, this week, right? And those 4 things, like focusing on those 4 things, game changer.
Yeah, it's a huge system. I know a ton of people that have that success because not a lot of people are that intentional about anything in their life. Just kind of float along. And if you are just 1% better in every area, every day, you can make a huge change. Just one thing that you can be better at with your health, with your relationships, one thing you can do to be better connected with your wife, one thing you can do to be better at your job. All of these things is how you need to start thinking in order to just gain the success that people don't want, but they don't want to do the work. And it's really not that much work.
It's work, right? We go back to, we talked about self-belief and things like that. Like, you just need to get over the fact that life is meant to be hard. Like, resistance is what makes you better. The gym, right? Eating healthy, running.
Well, that's so, not to interrupt you, I don't mean to be rude and interrupt you, but that is one of the biggest things that's cool about the gym. It is a direct parallel on how resistance strengthens you. It is a direct correlation in I'm going to do this very hard thing and my body will become stronger. That's true across the board. It's just harder to see across the board. It's harder to see in your business. It's harder to see in your mindset. It's harder to see in your relationships. It's just really easy to see that way. And before you start working out, it's hard to see it at all. And you can start to see this progress immediately when you start working out. So it's just a, I mean, it's the first step. You know what I mean? It's the first step. And once you start doing that, you start to realize how hard things make you better across the board.
Yep. That's, I mean, and you're right. It's like, even the guys who like to work out that think that they suck at running a business, like, it's not that you suck at running a business. It's that you haven't experienced the resistance that you need to get better at the thing, right? So there's like, do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
Yeah.
So Alex Hormozy, for the guys that don't know who he is, he's a marketer. He was teaching gym owners how to build their gym, right? Increase membership and stuff like that. And he talks about how he didn't grow up in sales, right? He didn't go to school for sales. He didn't work at an auto dealership and do sales. Like, he ran a gym, and then people wanted him to show people how to run gym. And then, he had to get on the phone with people. And he said, I made a commitment to do 4,000 one-on-one sales conversations. He goes, you want to know why I'm good at sales? Because I was sucky at the first probably 1,500, right? Did I close some? Yeah, but I sucked at them. But now at 4,000, dude, there's only 4 or 5 objections. All I got to get from you is this process. Where are you at? Where do you want to go? What's in your way? What do you ultimately want? Do I have a solution for you? Yeah. So that's sales, but it's the resistance of, you got to go through the sucky part to get good at it.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with relationships. People are like, oh, we're married. Well, congratulations. Like, you're just getting started, right? We've been married 24 years, and there's still days where I'm like, man, I cannot figure out what my wife wants, right? Yeah. Because we're still learning different levels of communication. We're still learning, okay, what does the other person want, right? But it's that resistance that, like, if you just choose to embrace it, your life exponentially will be better.
Yeah, well, choosing to embrace it's another part that people don't want to do. They're putting it off. They're putting off the hard things because they don't want to. They're choosing not to do it to begin with. So that's probably one of the most, I always say that, there's a lot of important things, and it's a lot of little steps. There's a lot of little steps, and I talk about the gym a lot because I feel like that's the first place where people start to make these connections. Honestly, I think, your diet and taking care of your body is super, super important. I think the gym is more important to start off with because it's easier to kick your body into gear when you start doing that type of stuff. And you almost want to start eating healthier once you start working out.
Yep.
You almost want to have that clean fuel in your body, or that to better take care of yourself. Your body desires it. Instead of living off of, sugar and candy, you're going to want to start eating whole foods. And instead of stopping at, fast food joints, you're going to want to start making your own food. It happens.
Prep. Yep.
So it's like making these little steps will make the other ones better, but it's always choosing to make that first step. It's always choosing to embrace the resistance. So, would you say that's another hard thing that a lot of contractors run into? I mean, we talked a minute ago, you said self-belief is the number one thing. That plays right into it as well. Choosing to embrace those.
And yes, and you're right. And it's not just contractors, like, it's just men in general.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, if you realize that life is actually meant to suck, right? Then it doesn't mean you have to enjoy every moment of it. You just understand it's part of the process.
Yep.
Right? It's like, I go to a CrossFit gym, and I am by no means the strongest, fastest, whatever in the gym, right? But I go there understanding that I have to go through that process as part of my daily routine of getting better. And the days that I miss, like, I know it and I feel it all day long. You feel lethargic. You feel more stressed out. You feel more disconnected and scatterbrained, right? The days that I work out, dude, are you kidding me? It's like, I'm on fire. Like, let's roll. Let's get this thing done.
I actually noticed pretty soon after I started working out, that the days that I would skip my workouts, skip my regular routine, I would feel worse all day and even feel like back pain as well.
Yeah.
Days that I skip out of my workouts. And it's almost as if doing that regularly, your body like strengthens in the moment as well. But skipping, it like makes you feel worse. And people just get used to that with without ever working out. So people will, I think what people have a hard time with in trade work is working out and feeling sore, but they don't realize how they're living in pain, and they could remedy that by working out, living with low energy and just at a low level of activity. And they could just fix that by starting to work out. And I only even work out 3 times a week, but the thing that I've always done is just kept going, just been consistent with it ever since I started, because I knew that if I stopped, I wouldn't want to keep going. And also I would feel worse, because there's been times where I miss a workout and I just feel worse.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, this is a difficult thing for me to say. When you get older, I'm only 46, so I'm not old, right? But I will tell you, when you get older, naturally your body starts to break down.
Yep.
Naturally, you start to feel more aches and pains, right? Not this just part of getting older. The days that I don't work out, dude, my lower back kills me.
Yeah.
Like absolutely kills me. Or my right knee. I had a shoulder injury from when I was working as a cop. I had a separated shoulder, and I never got surgery on it. But it was always like this dull, aching pain. It wasn't until I started intentionally working on strengthening my shoulder that it went away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you're going to deal with pain as part of life.
Yep.
But by leaning into the activity that you and your mind think is going to make it worse, it actually makes it better.
It makes it better. You're strengthening your body.
Yep.
And it's not a one and done thing. I think that's the hard thing that people don't get, is it's not like you work out for a year and it's done forever. It's a continual push yourself, train your body to mitigate these pains from aging, basically. Really, pains from regular life. So, and it's something everybody deals with, but a lot of people don't want to make that connection. And it's not until you start working out that you realize, wow, this actually does a lot for me. I was mind blown when I started working out, and I just felt better immediately. And so many people were like, you're not going to be able to work out. You're not going to be able to keep going. It's too hard. And I'm like, are you kidding me? If you could feel how I feel right now,
Yep.
you'd be on it too.
Right.
But a lot of people they're stuck on that. They don't want to do that hard thing because they think it's going to be too hard.
Yeah.
But what's too hard? Pushing it off, and then,
Hard now or hard later. Pick
hard
it.
now or hard later. Yeah. And the harder part about that is that it is now or later. So they're taking an easy route now because it's actually hard to to see in your mind the consequences that could come later down the road. And it's hard to force yourself to do this hard thing right now to see some sort of benefit down the road. Because you can't see that benefit and you can't see that consequence. It's too far out there. So it's like, okay, I'm going to take this easy route. And then all of a sudden one day, you're in a ton of pain, your back's killing you, and then you throw your back out, and then you're out of work for, 6 months or whatever.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's crazy. I think even that goes back to the self-belief, because people don't believe that they can take control of their health.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think we're starting to break down everybody's problem is self-belief.
Right? It's kind of crazy when it all comes back to you. You're like, it's the economy's fault. It's, politicians. It's where I live. It's the type of work that I do. No, and no. It's you.
Well, people want that. They want to be able to blame it on something else. They want to be able to blame it on their work. They want to be able to blame it on the president, whatever it is, whether in their crappy situation. They want to be able to blame it on, the price of groceries, on why they don't eat healthy. It's like, well, it's probably going to be cheaper for you to eat good food than it is convenient food.
Yep.
They just want to be able to blame it on something else so they don't have to take any responsibility. That's what I notice a lot. A lot of people's excuses come down to putting passing the buck onto something else, something, whether it's pre-existing problems they have, or, oh yeah, I broke my arm in high school, I broke my, whatever, did something way back when. So I can't do anything now. Oh, I work a trade job. Okay.
What's your point?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they want to be able to use something as an excuse, and it just doesn't work that way. Well, Gerritt, it's been fun. It's been a fun conversation. You got anything else to add?
I don't know, man. Like, there's always something more to add, but I think
There is always.
I'm a KISS method kind of guy, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
So like if anything out of this conversation, I always say pick the one thing that resonated with you and go do something about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it. Go do something about it.
Yeah.
If it's like I need to work out 3 times a week, okay, cool. So like if you don't have a gym membership, get one. If you don't have clothes, get them. But like Monday morning, go work out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part of about the information age is everybody's saying something different. The best thing you could do is do what you resonated the most with, and just do that. Make the one step. That's what I mean, when I started working out, I just felt like crap. And I just wanted to be in better shape, feel better. And I just started working out, even though everybody was telling me I wasn't going to be able to. And haven't looked back since either. So
yeah,
you could make one decision that'll change your life.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. Well, awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yep.